lights and filming?
Huh?
Filming or checking the lights?
I have filming.
You are?
I will in a minute.
Well, yeah, you know that time in there now, struck yourself. Mom living with here and there. So, what did you think of Radio Maureen?
I liked it. It's like, it's a public street.
Bring the missus along and have her read it out as you're pressing along, you know? You get to know all of the places you say, haven't been here before, or haven't I?
Yeah, he's getting big.
No, that's a man. The branches of his easy. Help him along a little. So come up again the next year. No, but they could bring it up again, you know. Say, well, you know, we need that guy up there. In which case, someone anyway, but I thought it was quite operating down there.
You get it, yeah?
She gave me money to get a canary, so he hatched it and tested it out a couple of days ago.
Young guys, you want to work. You want to go see his dad someday.
Hello, Chris, got the canary. What's his name?
Yeah, once in a while.
Does he sing
This
nice?
time I'll be up there.
Sings a lot.
Well, whistle.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
But he's really cute. He's adorable. Yeah, he's green with a red belly. Originally we got a yellow one. That's singing. Brought him back.
I used it before I read the instructions.
Yeah. 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 Don't run. Yeah.
That was in,
That's the national pastime.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you can see that. Smoke is very big.
Very big. And way back then, when they were babies. Couldn't see the guy next to you was small.
No, it's very small.
You don't like that? How about some lettuce? Try some lettuce. There you go.
You can tell they're brothers.
oh, yeah.
The eyes.
Yeah. Well, he's a little heavy too, this guy right there.
Sounds not like he used to be.
No.
This guy's head is not even seen.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Now, it's Father Fitzgerald like
Take two. I missed that one.
What's this?
for a cigarette.
You see,
He needs it to steady his nerves, you know, he's in the camera now.
the one thing about your husband, dear, he never got too many surprises in his life, but anyway, here it goes. You know what that thing in my mouth for?
Excuse me, sir.
Where do you want it?
Say what you want, Mom.
Say whatever I like.
Mama.
Thank you very much, all of the family. This was a big surprise.
I hope if I could figure out now before I open it.
Just open it.
I hope it what it is.
Come on.
I bet you it ain't there, but anyway. I'm the extremist of the family.
Bring that back.
You really have to tear it off of it?
Yeah, that's the best way out of it. I used to be all nervous about it, reckon.
Look at.
Mother,
Come here, Pat.
Mother of Christ, who was the guy that put this together? And getting closer, Mother. Getting closer. And Jesus, there must be a crock of gold in here.
Look at.
Mother of Christ, what is it? It is right what I said, nothing in it. Hey?
What'd you expect?
I know. There's something there, but you gotta go awful deep. Oh! I finally found it.
Really,
Oh, that's nice.
service bell.
That turns upside down.
And it brings,
Oh.
call daddy.
See,
when
look
you
at the
want-
bell.
Oh,
Look
good.
at that.
Because he's getting a little
See?
bit.
See that?
Oh, that's nice.
Is that nice?
There you are, darling. There's your present for me. Now I'll
That
go
was
to...
quickly transferred.
I'll go
Thank you
to...
very much. This is going to ring continuously, Nora. For Dad to answer the telephone when I'm upstairs.
This should be the best part. And I didn't bring my glasses, but anyway. I hope the writing is big.
So sure Santa Crystal.
2 doves. So Mother and Dad. Don't forget, Mother, you're in front of Dad. You're my guiding light all my life. How after thoughts and hearts return in the home that's filled with love. I tell you, talk about love, girl, we had plenty of it. Oh, Mother of Jesus. Oh, no. Now this is where you come in.
Give me the card.
Takes the money.
And hold the door. You just sing out the rest.
No, not only on your special day, but often through the year. Thoughts turn to all the special things that made you both so dear. The closeness that we've always had, traditions that we've kept, the simple pleasures, simple joys and pleasures, family times we won't forget. And for each cherished memory comes a wish that's filled with love for all the special happiness you're so deserving of. That's very nice. Love always, Margie, Kevin,
Happy
Dennis, Bern, the whole.
anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. Very nice. Oh,
The 50th will be
We
before you know,
know
it.
it.
Eileen wrote that.
We'll settle this. We'll make this the 50th.
Well, folks, a couple of more.
Oh.
Couple of more ones. I'm really. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, wait a minute. We're talking now for the next 25th. Kevin and Margie coming, and Nora and Patrick, and Grace and John, and Dennis and Bern. We'll be looking forward to the 25th.
Well, Mother, I'm glad you didn't have too many whiskeys, you know. As you would have given it hell altogether, you know. Anyway, folks, I really enjoyed it. It was a nice, how would I put it? It was, well, yes, a surprise, but it should have been left as a surprise. It probably would have been a lot better, you know.
Come on.
But anyway.
We need you to say that.
But anyway, thanks a million. I appreciate it. And what else can I say?
There's your $399 trip to Ireland. There you go.
There's nobody in this world taking that from me. Nobody.
I'm not used to speaking in public, so I'll just extend a warm congratulations to you both. Gomerimid Bioaranam Shaharish. May we be alive again next year at the same time. And when you come to Florida, we'll see if we can have some sort of a celebration for you down there. First of all, we want you to paint the house first, you know. But we'll do something special. And we'll make it public as well.
I don't know what to say. Just like the last time this happened.
I've loved you since I was 8.
Yes. Yes. Since I was 9, I loved you both, and it was really a lovely time. And I enjoyed the 40 years as well as 33 of the 40 years was great, and I was there for 33 of them. Okay. Who's next?
Who's next?
The oldest sister. Well, I don't think anybody want to trade you in as parents. Two best parents that we've ever known, I think we'll ever know. And all the years of sacrifice, I don't think we'll ever know what you gave up for us. I don't think any of us will have that sacrifice. And just to know that you're our parents is enough.
All right, wait a minute. Are you done?
Okay.
Get the camera set up. I want to just one thing in that camera.
All right. Hold the camera a minute.
I'm always used to it.
Does that mean it's going on? Well, if it is, I'll pan.
Does that mean it's flash and it's filming or with the red light?
Yeah, you have to film it.
Oh,
My
good.
dear.
In my lifetime, I always did one thing with my wife. I always handed her check or any money that was available around the whole household or my job or anything to do with it. So I now, in my 40th anniversary, hand it over to her once more.
Make sure you count it, Ma.
You used to always say that.
Now it's double check. That's true.
Oh, gee.
No, he's holding mine.
Oh,
Chris.
no, he's not all of them.
Right. Okay, let's go. We're not talking.
Oh, yeah,
Right there.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
It's all in films.
We got the ham right
I
here.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Is that a noise now?
Well, it's great to see everybody here, and it's great to see after 40 years that Mom and Dad are looking so good and in great health. And I want to thank you for what you've given me and what you've given all of us. And we hope to see you around for many more years.
Very nice. Go, Eileen.
Quiet. I don't need a camera. To Dad and Mom, the best. Thank you for all your emotional support. To us, to all of us, to the world. No. And when I grow up, I hope I'll be just like you and Mom. Chris, you're next. Come on, Gemini, get up here. Chris, we'll get the napkin.
Chris, I'll help you. Chris, this is the military talking. Let's go.
Get his denial on film.
Just hand me the microphone there. I can get it. Just hand the microphone. Chris, don't be so shy. Big guy like you. Come on.
Chris.
Should I sing Whitney Houston? I get so emotional, baby. Let's make an entrance. And introducing Chris Mitchell. Okay, we'll have a stand-in for Christmas Carol. We'll have a stand-in.
Say something nice.
All right, wait a second. This is what occupation therapy.
What?
Hit it, brother. Come on, Chris, use that big
Make sure now that you thank your mother for all the washing.
That's all I'm gonna thank her for.
And make sure you thank Dad for all that. Do you need me now, Chris? Can I leave?
Yeah, no, well, guilty. Am I set now?
You're ready.
This is to my mother and father, who I think are the greatest, especially my mother. It does. It does everything for me.
She does everything
Because
for you.
if she wasn't around, I don't know what I would do.
You better get away
True.
soon.
What?
Hey, John.
Here we are. Which, this one though? Stay there, Pat. Yeah, okay. Shy. I'm shy. But I am shy. I hide it better. Better? Better? Okay, Jesus. Mom and Dad, thank you very much for everything you've given me and all of us. And I just hope I'm not shy, right? And forget it. This is like the speech. Forget it. Just thank you for everything. Ann.
Okay, take it away.
Thanks for the memories. Da-na-na-na. Mom and Dad? You done, John? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for what you've done for us children's. Okay. Thank you so much for doing what we did for us kids, really. Us Pogue Mahones and paying English, okay? Really, the best. Happy 40th, and hope there's like maybe, God forbid, and you know, the whole 9 yards. And I'll be right behind you, Ma. Salute. Really. Baby?
Oh,
Baby! Big baby. Big baby. Yeah, right? Look at that. Well, should we all stand around you? What are we doing? We got up. Yeah, go ahead. Go behind.
There you go.
Well, we've had our share of brawls in the past. I'm sure everybody has in this family. And being the last one to move out of the house, I realize it more than ever that we love you to pieces. And that's it.
Thank you. It was very nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now we start with the in-laws.
The in-laws.
I like Kevin out.
Oh, boy.
He's the eldest in-law.
That's right.
That's true. I'm the eldest in-law. What are we up to, Marge? 17 years with these two? Well, I have to thank my father-in-law for 17 years of doing all the work for me and helping me at the house. And I have to thank my mother-in-law for all the babysitting and all the cleaning up for my father-in-law at my house. But it's been a privilege for 17 years of my life to know two such great people, to see all they've done in their lifetime and accomplished with 8 kids. So I hope to be here standing next to you both at your 50th anniversary. Or maybe we'll be in Ireland. Maybe we'll do it in Ireland. So lots of luck on the next 10, okay? Okay.
And the next in-law.
Look at the video.
Oh,
You gonna do
wait
it?
a minute. Oh, this is going to be a long one. This is going to be a long speech. Get us another cassette.
There you go. Don't take any notes.
Well, I say for the next trip to Ireland, we're all gonna go. About 16 cars full. How about that? I'd like to say happy anniversary, congratulations. And I feel like I'm a part of this family, not a daughter-in-law, but a daughter, and I thank you for that. And it was a lovely afternoon. Many more happy years together, and I hope me and Pat can follow your example and be as happy as you two have been. Fruitful, I don't know about that. 8 of them? I don't know. But, you know, we'll do what we can. Okay, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dora.
Thank you, Dora.
Okay, you get your turn next. Any other in-laws around here?
Gary, you're next.
Grace is the next one.
Burn. Grace, Burn, Gary.
Actually, it's between Grace and Bert.
Well, I like to say it's only been a couple of years, but it's a pleasure to be part of your family. You raised an absolutely beautiful son, and I'm glad I got to marry him. Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bernie.
I just like to say thank you for all these great weekends we've had upstate and the great breakfasts that Mom made us and the great example that Dad gave us washing the dishes, and hopefully Dennis will learn from his example.
Well said. Very nice. Where's Gary? Gary can say hello. Hey, Gary.
Come on, Gary. Gary, you're in here.
Come on. The last one.
Come on, Gary.
You're here. You might as well do it.
Come on, Gary. Come on, you're in.
Gary, you're in the family, Gary. You gotta push in. Come on, you're in the family. Yes, you are. Get in.
now.
All right, Gary, we're going to get the cuffs next.
Come on, Gary.
Everybody said everything.
Practice.
Yeah.
I just like to wish you guys happy anniversary, and it's a real pleasure being part of this family, or going to be a part of this family. Would be, you guys, just like my mother and father, you treat me very nice, even though we had our argument. Like the first time we met. Just, say happy anniversary and thank you for everything.
Nephews.
All right, the nephews.
Kevin's brother.
Yeah, I like to talk, that's right.
I like to talk. I'll be the first to admit it.
Just say something nice.
Mark, say anything you want. I don't care.
Anything you want.
Say something
How
nice.
your grandparents? Anything you want?
Yeah, the way he drives.
Oh, yeah.
I'm setting a good example for you.
Well, it's been.
Come on, Mel. Say
Shut up, fat slob.
I didn't think, boss.
Yeah, let me think.
you must know it's about 14.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you for all the good times. Yeah, there's been a lot of good times. There has been a lot of good times. And you drive the best. You're the best driver. You're the best.
Yeah, you can borrow his car.
Yeah.
That's kind of questionable.
No, it's good. And I. Oh. Happy anniversary.
Well, I hope it'll be around for your wedding.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
And you feel good. Yeah.
Huh?
Come on, fat man.
I'd just like to thank them for whenever they babysit us, they wouldn't tell Mom what we did or anything like that. And if there was ever a plaque to be given out for the greatest grandparents, it'd be for Grandpa and Grandma. Good man.
Okay.
Colin.
Hi, Carl.
Colin Flaw. All right, Timmy.
Come on, Timmy. Come on, Timmy.
Hi, Timmy. That's a
Timmy's
good
very
boy,
good on
Timmy.
stage. I saw him at the school.
He's good. He's good.
Thank you for everything that you've given me. And happy anniversary.
Thank you, Timmy. You're a good boy.
There's a good boy. That's it. Where's your brother?
Where's little Pat?
Oh, he don't. Is he into it? Say hello to
over here.
Grandma and Grandma.
Say congratulations to Grandma and Grandpa.
Congratulations to Grandma and Grandpa.
That's a good boy. What else you got to say? You like the dog, right? That's it. Say it. Say it. Say I like the dog.
I like the dog.
Happy anniversary.
There you go.
Happy anniversary.
Oh, he's a good boy.
Big kiss.
Big kiss.
Big kiss.
I love my grandpa and my grandma.
There you go, Robert.
Robert.
Robert Redford. There you go, the good-looking man.
Say hi, Grandpa. Hi,
Grandpa. Hey, look at Mommy. Look at Mommy. See Mommy over there at the camera? Hi, Grandma.
Happy anniversary.
No, nothing coming out of
Say
that.
hi, Grandpa. Hi, Grandpa.
Okay. All right. All right. Wait a minute. You go next.
Say.
Me? Okay.
Yeah, you.
All right. Come on, Carl. Wait. Then you next. Then you next. No.
Say hello, Grandma. Hey, say hello, Grandpa.
Happy anniversary.
Disney.
Say hello, Grandpa.
I love Grandma.
Finally getting him to say it. He calls me Grandma.
Colin's turn. Colin.
Ah, my man.
There you go.
Happy anniversary, Grandpa and Grandma.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you, Colin. Come on. Look at you. Oh, that's good boy. Yeah.
That's about it. We got the film in now.
How about your waiters and waitresses?
Hey, wait a while,
I
no.
can get some street people.
No, thank you. Wait a minute. We are having cordials after here at Marge's with reggae band. Okay. Reggae.
You knew about that part, didn't you?
Disconnect this.
I say, let's. Anybody gonna twink their glasses here? Sure, let's twink our glasses. Let's do the glasses. You know what? Like a wedding. Let's go. Here we go. No, I mean.
No laws to kissing. You wanted to drink a whiskey.
I smell nice, so that's all right.
Do it like do it like Dynasty.
Put the tongue down. Come on. You got to hold it to that one. 40 years ago, I didn't have to fight.
Pretend this is Dynasty. You know, one of those long ones.
That's a long kiss.
I've never seen that.
I've never
Why did you think it meant?
I watched Channel 13 the other night. See what happened?
Well, what did you think it meant? It was Irish. It was Gaelic.
She meant it then. You got your limits though, right?
That's rude. But
Shalom.
Shalom, right.
Anyway, man. Salud. And you're loving every day.
I am. I'm trying.
That's okay. Well,
I've had a lot of guys in my
No, I watched. Did you watch Channel 13?
Oh, that's great.
You. Yeah, I know.
No, I'll set it.
Laura said, wait a second, NBC is not ready.
Now,
Go.
Happy Okay, extended family.
Extend the family.
Stand up.
Wax on, wax on. Everybody.
What's that? The star for 5 minutes.
Hear that? That.
I didn't mean to single out. I thought there would be other people coming in and around. You want to wave hello or something?
Hello.
There we go. Sean, help him out here. Do something. Dance a little. Give us some animation.
She is crazy with this thing. Follows everybody around the house with it. In the bathroom.
I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm not up to pornography, please. There you go. Okay.
There you go.
Now, let's hear some. To the happy couple.
Very much so.
I'm such a lady, my music.
Yeah, take it out of there and put it in here. HBO, look at that. It's HBO, John. Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, this is
went all right. That was the big sale. Yeah.
Have a little sock. Foot in the mouth. The foot and mouth disease. Yeah, that's it.
So I went up here to this place up here, Stewart's.
That looks like
So I'm
it's
going
good.
back one night, Maria, this way.
True story.
We're here today, April 5th, 1988, and we're speaking with Bridget Fitzgerald, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and her family. And here's Bridget. Hi, Bridget.
I know
Could you
that.
tell us your full name?
Bridget Hickey Fitzgerald, I guess.
Did you have a second name?
No,
No Christian name?
no.
And what were your parents' names?
And my mother's name was Ellen. Originally she was Ellen O'Keefe, and my father was Dennis Hickey.
Okay, and where were you born?
I was born in Townland, I guess I should tell you, right? Born at home, knocking on the lawn. That was the name of the townland. And that was like, it's County Cork. And
Is that around
then-
Mill Street?
yeah, 5 miles from Mill Street.
Oh, so you weren't
Yes.
originally born in Mill Street?
Not in Mill Street, no. It's, you know, it's within the boundaries of County Cork, but Mill Street was the main town where we were, you know, where the births were registered and that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did your parents own a home in Mill Street or in
They had a,
Townland?
yeah, they had a cottage.
In
Yeah.
Townland?
Yeah, on the townland, yeah.
Were you
I believe that was rented like earlier years, and then they were able to buy it out like in later years. Yeah.
Is that where you went back to visit? Is that Uncle Jack's?
Yeah.
house? Oh, that's
Yes,
Uncle Jack's house?
that's right, yeah.
I see. And Mill Street was the town?
Yes.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 9 sisters and 5 brothers. And out of the 5 brothers, 2 died as babies, you know, early in time. And then I had a sister who died when she was 15. She was about, yes, I was about 7 when she died. And
Can you give me their names and?
yeah,
in
my
the order
my
that
brother,
they were?
yeah, my brother, he was the oldest. He was Dennis, and then there was Mary, and I think there was a baby, Daniel, and next to him came Kathy, and after Kathy there was another baby boy, David, and I believe he only lived a week. He was, you know, and he was born at home too. And then after, oh no, Nora came after that. That's right. I mixed that name up. It was Nora, and then after Nora came this little boy, and then Kathy, and Peg, Margaret. Of course, she was Margaret, but we always called her Peg, and Nell, and then there was Hen, who was Joanna, really, and who came after that? Oh, Elizabeth, and then there was Jack, Luke, Sheila, Bridget, me, and Teresa was the baby. Yeah,
You were next to last.
I was next to last, yeah.
Do you remember everybody living in the house?
No, I believe my mother said, you know, as they grew up, you know, they went away to work, so they weren't home, the older ones. There were like 5 of us living in the house when I was growing up. Jack and Luke and Sheila and Teresa and I. But the older ones, I believe my mother said at one time there was only one time in her life that all of us got in the house together, one day, and that was the day before my brother Dennis came out to this country. Everybody got together in the house for the one day. That was the only time, she said. Yeah. That was kind of interesting, you know, to happen. Yeah.
What was your mother's name, full name?
Ellen O'Keefe. She had no second name. No.
And do you remember, did you have aunts and uncles that you remember? Did
Oh,
she have
yes.
brothers and sisters?
Yes, I remember my grandfather from my mother's side.
What was his name?
He was Daniel O'Keefe, and he was like about 97 when he passed away. I think I was probably maybe 8 years old. He lived with my Aunt Mary. And Aunt Mary, who lived about 2 miles away from us. And her husband had died very young. She had 6 children. And then my grandfather lived with her. And then I had the other Uncle Din. And then he lived with Aunt Mary too for a certain time. Then later, like, he came to live in our house, my mother. But my other uncles, I didn't know because they were, one was in England and one was in Canada. And I think one of them had passed away before I was born. And I had an Aunt Katie, who lived in Limerick. Oh, that's nice.
Ryan, go out to Grandpa's.
And her we saw often. She came, always visited. Came for maybe a month in the summertime, and she brought some 4 children. You know, she was married to Ahern was the name for her husband. He was Stephen Ahern, I believe.
What?
Stephen Ahern was her husband's name. So.
Do you know how many brothers and sisters she had?
She had children. She had, let me see, 2 boys, I think, and 5 girls.
Were they also from that area?
No, they were from Limerick, really, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
See, she lived down there. My aunt did. That Aunt Katie. And she would come like in the summertime to visit my Aunt Mary and my mother, my Uncle Din. But see, from my father's side, we had no relatives. I mean, no close relatives. He only had 2 sisters, and they came out here to the United States, and you know, I guess before 1900, I think, or maybe I guess maybe after 1900. But his sister died when she was 56. The older one, the 2, and I think the other one died not too many years after. But she had been married. The other sister had been married in Ireland, and her husband died. She had no children, so she came out to this country, and she never remarried. But I think she died earlier, earlier
You
on
only
than
have
mother.
two sisters, there's
That's
only
all.
three.
Yeah, three.
What was his full name?
Yeah, my father just Dennis. He never Hickey. Yeah, no, they didn't have second names in them days. I think much, you know.
Yeah, I get that idea.
Yes, they didn't. Yeah.
Well, I guess you had all first names were saints' names, so you didn't
Yes.
have that.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Let me see. Do you remember his parents at all?
No, no.
Were they
His
from
father.
that area?
No, they weren't from that area. His parents. My father's father died when he was 9 years old. Yeah, and then my older sisters, I think. Oh no, they didn't. She had died, I think, before before my older sister was born, or my brother.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, she had died. Yeah, I think.
Um,
Or they were babies, I guess, at the time. They wouldn't even remember. But they knew my mother's parents. See, they lived only maybe half a mile away from us. Pat Tewig's house. That was their house, yeah. And Mary and then I think Kathy and probably Nora. They knew the grandparents. But I knew the grandfather, like to see. I knew when like I was about 8 when he passed away. But I didn't know the grandmother. I think she died when she was in her 60s.
This is your
65.
mother's
Mother,
parents,
yes.
right. So originally they weren't from Mill Street. Did they
Yeah.
come there for work or something?
I think my father's people, they came from like outside of Mill Street towards Mallow way, and not Mallow, Newmarket. Mm. That's where his mother was born, and and I think that possibly my grandfather worked somewhere in that vicinity, and that's how they met. My grandmother and grandfather. Yeah.
And for your mother's parents also, they settled in there?
Yes, they were. They had been. I think they always lived there. My mother's. They were from the area.
Did your mother work when you were young?
No, worked no.
Well, if she had 15
kids, yes.
she worked in
Yeah.
the house. Did you live on a farm?
We had an acre. See, going without with that. That was a cottage, and there was an acre of ground going. So we grew. They grew their own vegetable and like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you lived on an acre in a cottage.
Yes.
And you said those cottages.
They were for the farm workers. My father was a farm worker, and it was built like on the land of the farmer next to us. And then after so many years, they paid rent like for so many years, and then later, then they got a chance to. Much later, I was grown up and everything when this happened, and they were able to buy him out.
Now you said, do you remember some of your brothers and sisters being born at home?
No.
No?
See, I was there.
You don't remember that?
No,
you
because
weren't there?
Teresa. No, well, you see, Teresa was the youngest. She was the youngest. She was born at home. Yeah, but see, there was only 2 years, so I wouldn't remember anything about that. Yeah. The only one I remember born at home was my niece. She was born in our house. My sister's Peg's daughter, our oldest daughter. She came to our house and stayed there, and she was born then. She was a midwife. Came to deliver the baby. Yeah. But of course, that happened to be on a Sunday. So we were going to church, and we were packed off the church. By the time we got back from church, they had the baby.
It was good timing.
Yeah.
Do you remember when your mother was born? What year she was born?
I don't know. In my mother's, no, I don't. I know what year my father was born, but because he was born the year the school was built, 1869. That's the original school.
Do you know what age he died, passed away?
He was 67. Yeah.
And how long did your mother live?
My mother was 90
She was 90
when she died, yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about the school. Can you tell me something about when you were growing up? What some of your
Well,
memories?
you see, that school my mother and father went to, same school. And all my brothers and sisters went to that school. And it's still operating. Yeah.
What was the name of your parish?
Our parish, we were under the Mill Street parish, but the church we went to was Daly. That's like a branch church of the main parish.
Is
But
that where your parents were married?
they must have been married in Mill Street because there wasn't a church in that particular time there at that time. I think Mill Street was the main church, and they probably it's possible that they were married in that church.
What about your mother? Was she very friendly with the neighbors? And
Oh yes, yes, all the neighbours were like family. As a matter of fact, when I was growing up, I thought they were my uncles and aunts. Yeah, they were really great people.
Did she help them out in any way?
Oh yes, yeah. When somebody died, they called on her to prepare the body for the funeral. She did it for I couldn't tell you how many people. Yeah. But they were wonderful people. You know, the people lived around us were really, really great. They all helped each other. You know, it was. Yeah, I remember like if a neighbour died, you know, whatever they were doing, you know, if it was farm work or whatever, everything stopped. And then they went to that house and said, you know, we'll milk the cows or we'll take care of whatever you have to do so that you won't have to do it, which was great. You know.
Wasn't she frightened by taking care of the deceased? Or-
No, one time I said to her, Mom, how can you do it? And she said, I said, aren't you afraid? Why would I be afraid? She said, they were my friends.
She sounded like a great lady.
Yeah.
Do you have any childhood memories that you?
Well, of course, we walked to school 2 miles every day.
With or without shoes?
Sometime in the summertime without shoes.
Really?
Yeah, we did. But it used to be kind of a race between who was going to take their shoes off first, you know. That was a great thing then. Yeah. But we had a lot of fun on the way to school. We picked berries, you know, when the blackberry season came in. We picked berries on the way home from school, and we picked the hazelnuts on the way, and we picked the hazelnuts and probably got home late, you know. And but it was a lot of fun, and like all the kids kind of stuck together, you know. And of course, we knew them; they were all neighbours' kids. They were all, you know, from the same area. Yeah.
Well, with that large a family, about how many years were there in between each brother and sister?
I think about 2 years, mostly. Yeah.
And you said you did some farming. You kind of grew your own vegetables.
Oh
and things
yes,
like that?
yeah.
Did you have any animals?
We had a donkey. Yeah. We had chickens and hens and ducks. You know, and they had quite a, you know, they had a lot of eggs, like from the, you know, the hens and that.
How did you get to town?
The donkey, and had a car with the donkey for going to town. And my mother went on Friday. That was shopping day. Was Friday, and she went and had all her lists ready before she went, and she would take in the eggs that she had from the, you know, the hens, and maybe sometimes maybe 10 dozen, you know, which was a lot in that time. And she'd do the shopping. Then when it came time for in the winter time, then you see we had to get the heavier shoes for school, for walking to school. So that was a big thing, you know. We all had to, and what they would do is that the store would give her a whole bunch of sizes, different sizes, to bring home. And we tried. Yeah, wasn't it great?
Really?
Yes. Yeah. See, they trusted people in them days, you know. And she'd come home in all the different sizes, and we'd try 'em all on, and my father be looking, see where your toes were and were they in the right place, and make sure they were the right size and everything. Yeah.
Well, now that Easter has passed, do you remember how you celebrated Easter? Did you get new clothes
Oh,
for Easter?
oh well, Easter was wasn't new clothes really. You know, might be you wore your best, whatever your best dress was, would be worn on Easter Sunday. You know, but thing there was in our time there was no such thing as like the chocolate eggs or anything at that time. You know, there were a few coming in at that time, but not much. But the big thing was like who could eat so many eggs? That was, you know,
Oh, yeah. What
yes,
kind of,
regular
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
eggs, you know, hard boiled or whatever.
what, did they get a prize or something?
No, it was kind of who could do it more, than, you know, without getting a stomachache. Yeah.
And how about
But it was the religious part of it was the big thing there. The religious part of Easter was the, you know,
Celebration.
yeah, celebration, because in Lent everybody gave up something for Lent, and you know, giving up was, I remember I gave up having sugar in my tea when I never went back to it, you know, and my father gave up smoking one time. You know, he smoked a pipe, and he couldn't even see the road. It had such an effect on him. And he was going around for, you know, about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. 3 weeks, I guess. 2 or 3 weeks it must have been. And my mother goes into town, and she bought it. He threw away the pipe and all, so that he wouldn't smoke. And she bought him a new pipe and whatever it was, the tobacco. And she said, look, it's more punishment to look at you not smoking than this to have you smoking. Yeah.
Well, you must remember something about Shrove Tuesday.
Oh yes, that was great. Yeah. So Tuesday, the town made these bracks, you know, with the raisins, and then they'd put a little stick wrapped in a piece of plastic paper in it, and a stick, a pea, what was it, a ring, and I don't know what else. There was something else, and then
Penny?
whoever, yeah, that was for the money, yeah. And then whoever got the penny was going to be wealthy for the year. Whoever got the ring was going to be married within the year. And the one who got the stick was going to be the boss of the house. And the pea was the poor guy. That's some great things.
Well, you must.
But then,
wasn't there,
oh yeah, that was the last day then for getting married before Easter, before Lent. And usually on January 6th, anybody that was getting married, you know, going to get married before Lent, they had a fair in the town, and you always knew the ones they'd walk up and down the town, arm in arm. The people were going to be getting married before Lent. Yeah. And of course, a lot of them were matchmaking marriages. Yeah.
how did that work?
That worked that one farmer probably had a daughter, and he figured it was time for her to, or else maybe his son was getting married, and then somebody else would, like, usually it would be like where the daughter would be living, would be coming, maybe her, you know, her brother might be getting married, and his wife was coming into the house to live there. So then somebody else would be looking for a wife to take in, you know. So that girl would, they'd get together, the two farms, and talk it over, and they did all the talking about it. The two young people didn't. They just probably saw each other for a short time before that. And of course, with the farm, it was a dowry. See, that was the big thing. The girl going in would have to have so much money to go in, so that the other guy's sister could go to another farm with the same dowry. So my brother used to always say, there was £500, he says, going around there for 50 years. Same 500, he said. He said, you don't know how many people that £500 married, he said.
And it was usually when the girl married, she moved into the house of the husband?
Yeah, the husband, yeah.
Did she live in there
And
with the mother-in-law?
yes, yeah. And sometimes it didn't work. Yeah.
He would eventually inherit.
Oh yes, the
That
farm.
would
That had be
belong to
the older son, yeah. But of course that's passed away. There's no longer doing that, you know. You know.
All right, About, we'll do that with the marriage person first.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't there a neighbor in your area that had problems?
Oh yes, you know, this family, the older daughter became an unwed mother, and she was really not accepted at all by the family. And they took the baby to the aunt's house, or took the girl to the aunt's house, I guess, who lived quite a distance away in Killarney, close to Killarney. And any case, she was never really allowed out for people to see, never allowed out of the house after that. And
She
then
still lived in her parents' house.
she still lived a lot of, not all the time now. She lived with the aunt in Killarney, I guess, while the little boy was growing up. And when he was about, everybody thought the baby had died. See, that's what they told, I guess, some people. But actually, they brought him up as the aunt's son. They gave him that name. So when they brought him back to their house, to the grandfather's house, he was, you know, supposed to be a cousin. He was supposed to be the aunt's son. And he grew up with my brothers. Luke and him were about the same age. And Luke didn't know any different. Neither did I, you know. But then we always knew that when we went in that house, somebody would disappear into the bedroom, through the door into the bedroom. And then eventually we got asking my mother, you know, why was that happening? And she didn't want to tell us, you know. So eventually we found out, you know, as we got older, that he was her son, really, you know. And I don't think he knew it himself until he was quite grown up. But they never allowed her out of the house. I've never allowed anybody to talk to her all them years. And eventually then the father died. But he, you know, he was 97 when he died. Mother had died. When the mother died, she had to come out, had come from the aunt's house and was there for the funeral and the wake. And I had a faint remembrance of meeting her then. And, you know, I was like 5 or 6 years old. But I always remember later, like as I got to the 8 and 9 or 10, I'd go into the house and all of a sudden I'd see somebody disappearing through the door. And then after a while my mother wouldn't say, you know, I'd ask her and I'd say, I knew then her name. And I'd say, why does Kate, why don't they leave Kate out? Why is she running away? And she says, oh, I won't tell you now. You'll know it later, you know. And she never really explained it to us. But in any case, as they got older then, of course, and the father had died, and then one of the sisters died, then they all dwindled down, and she was the only one left. And they left, she came out before the other sister died, she lived there with the second younger one, I think. But then she went, and my brother was taken to the hospital one day in the car. He was driving it then. He had a car then. And he was driving, and she told him to go slow because she wanted to see the houses. She hadn't seen them before. And the other sister lived for a couple of years, and she went out then, went to the town, you know, and like sent for my brother. My brother was married and away from home then, and he came home. And one day she asked somebody to tell him to come and visit her. And he went in, and he was so surprised, like, and she said, you know, she said, when you used to come in, when you were a teenager in here, and she said, you'd start telling some stories, and they'd be all laughing, and I'd be on the other side of the door, and I'd dying to laugh, but I was afraid in case that you'd hear me. Wasn't that something? So he said to us so sad, like when he talked to her, he said, my goodness, you know, why would they keep somebody away like that all that time? But of course,
I guess, is what you report.
yeah, and I think, you see what it was? It was like they were ashamed of the fact that she had that baby. This was at that time. And I don't know, it just, you know, they didn't think of the human side of it, of her suffering at all. But anyway, she had a couple of years. She outlived everybody. The other sister died too. And then eventually my brother took her to the hospital. She died in the hospital, but she was the last one in the family to go. And she was 90 years old. Yeah, but she, but at least I said she had the comfort of coming out and talking to some of the people that she were there, already there, that she knew.
What about Christmas time? What was Christmas like?
Christmas time, my memories of Christmas was that on Christmas Eve, my father would go to this farm where they had the holly with the red berries in it. And it was a big thing. He went early in the day and he got this, brought this rope, and he came back with a big bunch of the holly. And then he set a string around the window and put the holly in all the way around. My mother made the paper flowers, different colours, put it all around it. And then she had a paper chain that you could buy at that time, different colours, and she'd, loop it across the window in like a V, and a big bell, paper bell in the middle, hang down. And then this huge candle, a red one usually. And the youngest person in the house would light that. When I never got to light it because Teresa was younger than me, so she was the one that always got to light it. And they'd light the candle, and as soon as it just started to get dark, and then everybody'd kneel and say prayers, and then there was a candle placed in every window in the house. And I believe the idea that was that years ago when Ireland had being like when England was controlling Ireland, that they'd say mass in one house on Christmas. The priests were, had to run for their lives then, that time. They weren't allowed to say mass, and they used to say it anywhere. And the idea of the candle was that the priest would be coming to one house, and they used to put the candle in the window, but then so that the soldiers wouldn't know which house. Everybody put a candle in the window. See? So they couldn't tell which house the priest was in. Yeah. Wasn't it? Yeah. So that followed, and our door was never locked, especially on Christmas Eve. My mother said, now if the Holy Family are coming by, the door is open for them to come in. Yeah. And the candle, and they took the candle off the window and they placed it on the floor, and took all these, they used to have little trimmings on the candle too, decorations, paper, things around it. Took all that, and the candle would be sitting in this big jar with sand in it, so it wouldn't catch fire. And then they'd sit on the floor in the kitchen, lighting all night. Yeah. And of course Christmas morning was getting up early and going to church. And by the time we got, it would be, quite dark then. And we'd be in the church about, Mass wouldn't start until about 9:30, but my father always had us in church by 8:30, an hour ahead. And then we'd come back, eat breakfast. The big thing then was the Christmas dinner, which was usually a goose. And we'd eat late in the day.
That they bought in the store?
No, goose the neighbour gave us. we had 3 neighbours that sent us a goose. One each. They sent us one family sent it for Christmas, one sent it for New Year, and the other one sent it for January 6th.
Was it live when you had it?
Yeah.
And who was responsible to?
My mother was the executioner. My mother, and she used to keep the down, for the pillows. She'd take the down off of the goose and put it in the bag and keep it there. And then later in the year, she'd make new pillows with the feathers.
How did she kill it usually?
I don't know how she killed it now because I never looked.
Did she have to?
I think they have to. Oh yeah, she did. Yeah, took all the feathers off and then had to put it into the boiling water and take all the little fuzz off, And, oh no, she singed it first over the fire. We had an open fire, and that was to burn off that little fuzzy feathers, and then put it into the boiling water and everything came off. Yeah, it was a big project. Yeah.
What about Santa Claus?
Oh, Santa Claus came in my time. Little things. It was like an orange, an apple, a hanky, a little toy, some kind of a little toy that was not very good. We also, though, had 2 teachers in our school, and they had always had a Christmas tree for the kids. And they bought all the stuff for the Christmas tree, the 2 teachers. One was the principal, and then she was the assistant. And the 8th grade were the ones always got to set up the tree. See, the last day of school. And then whatever they'd have so many things, like they'd have something for everybody in the tree. But then they'd have some more extra things, and they'd put numbers into a box, like, and you picked it out, and somebody, you'd get an extra thing maybe if you were lucky enough to pick the right number, you know. It was nice. I remember getting a doll.
Did you have stockings hung up? Is that what you did, or he just put something around the
Just
house?
put something around the house by the fireplace.
Do you have any, do you remember any of the old days, that perhaps, any stories from the old days that maybe your mother and father told you, or do you have any particular memories that you can? How about some of the old medical remedies of the day?
Oh,
Remember
yes.
some of those?
Yes. You know, if you had a cold, it was lemons and sugar, and I put them in a jar, and pour the boiling water on the lemon and the sugar, and let them sit by the fire, and that was the lemonade for the cold and the cough. And then if you had a pain in your back, they made up this, I think I bought this stuff, linseed oil, linseed meal, I think, is something they call it. And you could buy them in the drugstore, and then you had to put them on very hot onto the, to your back. It surely took the pain away. At least you didn't feel it with the heat of the poles.
Did you eat a lot of beef?
No.
Did you?
No, not much beef. No, mostly.
How about corned
I
beef?
guess we never eat corned beef. I'd never eaten corned beef till I came to this country. Yeah.
It's not a traditional Irish.
No, it's not.
Lot of
We eat a lot
potatoes?
of the bacon. Yeah, and the potatoes. Yeah, but of course they tasted good, not like the ones here.
How about the Irish soda bread? Did your mother
Yeah,
bake that?
baked every day. Yeah, she did. She made the whole wheat bread, baked that every day, and then she would make the raisin bread, for Easter and Christmas and weekends and stuff like that. She also made the gingerbread, which was nice. It was very good.
Okay, when you were older, like teenager, did you go to dances?
Oh yes, yeah, we had dances in the town, and we had 2, like one on Tuesday night and one on Sunday night, and they played like, the Irish music on most of those dances. But everybody knew everybody, and then they had a time in the summertime when they had, they used to call them the crossroad dances, and they'd be like the crossroads, and there'd be space, and they used to put on first they had made like a concrete square, and then they'd put this wood on it, and like planks of wood together, smooth, and then they'd have all the dances there in the summertime, because the summertime in Ireland, you have daylight to 11 o'clock at night, it'd be up to 11 o'clock, and everybody went there.
Did your parents go to those
Yeah,
as well?
they went there when their younger days. Yeah, it started in their time, really. Then it was handed down, and there was always somebody, a musician. There was always somebody who could play an accordion, or a violin, or a flute, or whatever. Actually, they didn't read music, but they could play it. A lot of, they kind of, I guess, played by ear more or less. But they had some great musicians. And then in the town, then they used to have they'd call it like the fish day. Then they have the Irish step dancers there, and they'd have all kinds of things going, like tug of war for the men, and the high jump, whatever it is, I don't know what they call it here. They'd run with the stick like and jump right over. Yeah, I don't know what they call it.
Was
And
that
they
also
do
Market Day?
races.
Then? Was that
Yeah,
kind of
there
a
was a
fair
market.
day?
Yes, yeah. We had one in our town. March was the horse fair day, big day for the. It was like they came from all over Ireland for that day, and then they had it, during in the daytime, like all the horse dealers came into the town to buy the horses, and they parade all these beautiful horses up and down through the town, and then somebody'd buy in. That was it. But then that night they'd have a dance in the hall, and it was really nice,
Do you remember much of the Gaelic spoken? Did you?
Not
did
too
you
much,
learn Gaelic?
When I was going to school, we had it. We had a teacher who spoke it, and then we had like a half hour or an hour a day. But I didn't do too good in that,
Your parents didn't.
My
speak
parents didn't speak it, see. I think it's mostly west of Ireland. Got our parts of Kerry, that they still spoke it, and then still do. But I can tell, like, some of them, when I hear some of the words, I know what they are,
Did you go to work?
Yeah, I did, yeah. First job I worked for these two ladies. They were spinsters, and they had a store in the town, so I worked for them. And then after that, I worked in a doctor's house, took care of their children. And
Sort of a nanny?
yeah, and then I went from there. I went to Cork, and I worked for these people that had a jewellery place in Cork City, but they lived outside the city. So I took care of their children too. And then after that, I went to this other family in Cork City, and they were wonderful people, really lovely people. So I worked there up to the time I married.
I guess Cork was the big city.
Yeah, it was then, yeah. It was nice, it was very nice. Of course, I went to dances there too. We had a lot of, the dances a couple of nights a week.
When you worked, did you live away from home?
Yeah, I was away from home, yeah. Then I got home in the summertime for 2 weeks, yeah.
Now, I'm sure you had several beaux at that time, but
Yeah.
I wondered about one particular fellow.
Oh, yes. He showed up one night at the dance. Had never seen him there before, him and, and his friend. And I had a girlfriend, and we knew most of the people in the dance, the girls and the boys that went there. And in any case, this was in Cork, and they always had a ladies' choice, one dance, towards the end of it. And in any case, they had this ladies' choice, and the two of us, and the two guys we were going to ask to dance, somebody else took them. And we were looking around, and we said, gee, we're not going to sit this one out. And we saw these two guys come in the door, and they were standing by the door, and one was a real tall guy, and the other guy was not so tall. And we're walking over, and I said to the other girl, Betty, I said, Betty, you take the tall one, and I'll take the shorter one. And that's how we met. That's how I met my husband.
His name?
And his name was Patrick Fitzgerald. And he had come from Ballybor down to Tipperary. And he was, at the time, had just come into Cork. And he had a sister married there. So he was staying with her at the time. And that's how we met.
Oh, so then you started to go out?
Yeah,
after that?
yeah, we started to go out. And then, of course, he was my dancer. He was a great dancer, of course. Yeah.
And did you bring him to meet your parents?
I did, yes.
Mhm.
First, he brought me to meet his mother. I think we met in October. Then we went to his house in June. I think it was June. And I went there for the day. And then the following, I think Christmas time, then his mother asked me to come. So I was down there. I think I was down there for New Year. And then I brought him to my house in June, next year. Because he was real nervous, of course.
Who was home then?
Teresa was the only one home then. And then, of course, she left later that year and came out to this country.
And about how old were you then?
When we met, I was 24. And then when we got married, I was 26. And he worked, see, he was worked in Cork, and then there was no more work there. So that he went up to the Midlands near where my brother lived. And he worked on the turf cutting, you know, there.
Was this before you were married or after you
That was
married?
before, yeah,
Before you-
yeah.
I didn't get in your date of birth.
Date of birth was 14th of April 1921. And of course that was the time when Ireland was in real turmoil when I was born. That's when they were fighting for the independence in the south of Ireland. And there was a lot of terrible things happened there, you know.
Do you remember, while we're on this, do you remember talk about the IRA and
Oh yes, yeah.
or people in your area that might have
Yes.
been involved?
Oh yes, I knew people that were involved, and my uncle belonged to that. Of course, it's not the same as it is today. That was a different thing. They were just fighting to get their own government in the south, and then the British Army sent in troops into the south, and they opened all the jails and left all the criminals into Ireland. So then they killed a lot of people. A lot of innocent people were killed. You know, they'd go along and they'd be passing by. I had my father say they went by this farmhouse, and the woman in the house, the lady in the house, he said, came out to call the farm. They were working on the farm to come to lunch, you know, dinner. So dinner they call it there, midday. And she had a little girl in her arms, and another one holding by the hand, and they just passed by and turned the guns on her and killed them all. You know, they did some awful things.
These were the English.
Yes, yeah.
And they didn't allow much of the Catholic. They didn't
Oh no.
understand about the Catholic.
Oh yeah, definitely did. Yeah, they didn't want that. So.
Okay. Now getting back to, so then you got married. Did you get married in
I was married in Cork. No, Cork, St. Patrick's Church, Cork. Because Pat was in the Midlands, and then he came from there, and he went down and went to his parents' house and for a couple of days, and then he came back up, and we were married from there.
And where did you set up housekeeping then?
Then Edenderry, County Offaly. That's where he worked. Yeah, I had no idea what it was like even when I went up there, you know. Luke had lived he was still living in Westmeath at the time, but he wasn't married. And when I went up there to live, I thought it was terrible. I thought the weather there was so much colder than the south of Ireland. And we stayed there for, I think, 6 months. Then we got a chance to go to England. And of course, all Pat's family were in England at that time. So we stayed with his sister for about 6 weeks, I think.
Is that what made you decide to go to England? Because he had relatives there?
Oh yes, he had relatives there, and the work wasn't as good in Ireland as it was in England at that time. England were rebuilding then, see. So he was able to paint and all this stuff, and there was better chance of a job, and you know.
When you were married in St. Patrick's, what date was that?
That was October 28th, 1947.
And did you think about going other places? The United States or
Yes,
Australia?
we had thought about it. We thought about it, you know, but then it wasn't. It was very hard to get out here at that time, you know.
To the States?
Yeah. And then my sister came home to visit. That was later, much later than that.
Right, so you went
Yes,
to England.
yeah, I went to England, and
Did you have any children at that time?
no, then Margie was born in England, and then we had Eileen, and Patrick, and Dennis.
When you went to England, now you lived with Pat's sister?
Pat's sister, yeah. She just passed away, Kathy. Yeah, and then we got an apartment. You know, apartments were so hard to get in. you know, because they were just starting to rebuild. Everything was blitzed out, you know.
From the war?
Yeah, after the war, and they also had rationing. You had to stand in line for everything at that time, and you had these books, and you went like with the coupons for the food, and you could only get so much of anything. The meat at that time was only 4 ounces each a week. Yeah, the food rationing was still on in England, and then the meat, you got 4 ounces for each person for a week. So that didn't amount to very much. But the only thing there was that they had fish was very good. You know, the fish was just, you went to the fish store in the morning and it was just brought in, and they had it nice, and they, you know, filleted it and everything right there in front of you, and it was really fresh. That was the real good part about it. And they had lots of vegetables and the fruit and that they had quite a lot of. You know.
Now, you had 4 children?
4 children, yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you stay in one place when you were in England?
No, we lived in Wilson we lived in Kilburn when we went to stay with his sister, and then we went from there to Wilson. That was a very nice place. There was a huge park, you know. So I every afternoon I'd go to the park, bring the kids to the park, you know. I met the other mothers with the children, and it was nice, you know. The kids played together, and it was a great, beautiful place. There had a lot of different things in there for the children. They had the deer, the animals, and the chickens, and there was a lake there, and you know, there was a lot of things going. And then, like in the weekend, when Pat would go, they had a bandstand in the evening, at night, on Sunday evening, and everybody would sit in the seats and listen to the bands playing. And then we moved from there to Myland, because we were getting an apartment on the first floor, and there was a yard. And that was very important then.
So you had 4 at this
yeah,
time?
I had 4 at this time. So then they went to start at school there. And Margie and Patrick went to school. And then Dennis was about 3 then, and then we decided we were going to come out here. That was 1957. But Pat came out in September 1957, and I went back to Ireland, and the kids went back to school in my old school in Ireland for 6 months. And then we came out here in March of 58. We were here just for Easter. Week before Easter we arrived here. Came by plane. I was the first one in our family that came to this country by plane. All the others came by boat.
When you were in England, did you go home to see your parents?
Oh yes, went home in the summertime, took the kids, yeah. And then Pat's sister, she always went with me. She had 2 children.
And how did you get to Ireland?
A boat. There was a boat. There was a train. First there was a train. We had to take, like, at that time, the train took 8 hours to get to the boat. And the boat then was 10 hours to get into Cork. And then we had to do 2 hours from, you know, Cork to either a bus or a train to Mill Street. And then somebody met me there.
So mostly summertime?
There was summertime, yeah. And then I usually stayed a month or maybe 6 weeks. Well, you know, it depended. Then a few times then Pat came with me and stayed a couple of weeks and came back, and then other times he would come on the last 2 weeks, and then we'd come back together. It worked out all right. The kids had a great time. They loved it, you know.
Okay. Now in Ireland, is that where you decided to come to the United States? And
I wa-
why did you make that decision?
In England, well, actually, my sister Nora was the one that made the decision for me. She kind of, my cousin had come out earlier, about a year earlier, and then she was asking him, I guess, how how England was, and he was saying that it wasn't that good and everything, and we had talked about it, my cousin and I and Pat, and we said, well, gee,
What was his name?
John Ahern, and we said, if we ever got a chance to come out, we'd come. And then also Teresa had been home about 2 years before that, made a visit to Ireland, and then she was saying, would you ever think of coming out? And I said, gee, I don't know. And then she said, well, maybe wait a couple of years till the kids are a little older. Might be good, to come out then. So then my sister Nora had written to me and asked me if we'd like to come. And I get this letter like at Christmas time. And Pat gets home from work. I said, how would you like to go to New York? Fine, I'll go tomorrow, he said. So there was I didn't have to push him to go. Yeah. So he made up his mind, But it took from, we started out, I guess, in January or some, fill out forms for it and all the rest of it. By the time he got through the medical and all, then we went home to Ireland, and he left in September 14th, I think. And,
He came by plane?
he came by
Oh,
plane.
he came by plane.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And he was going to set up at first?
Yeah, he got set up first, and he had an apartment, and had a job, and everything set up first when we came, which was good.
Did you have any doubts about coming to New York?
I didn't, my sister said to me, looked at me and said, how can you do it? I said, how can you do what? How can you pick up and take 4 children out there? Doesn't bother me, I said.
Which sister was that?
Peg. And Peg said, I could never do it, It's a big thing to pull up stakes and, out.
By this time, though, you had family here, Nora?
Oh, I had, yes, that was the whole thing. I had Nora and Teresa, Nell, my brother Dennis, my sister Mary. So I was coming to half of my family, really. So that made a big difference. And then Pat had a sister in Boston whom he had never seen since he was a little kid. And then he had seen her once, that's right. She had made a trip. But she made 2 trips. I think she made 2 trips before he came out here. But he hadn't seen her for some years on her first trip. And then when he came here, he went to Boston to visit her. The first Christmas he was here, he spent it in Boston. So then he got kind of close with her, and eventually got settled. It's hard, though. When you come first, it is hard to settle in. And that goes for any country, I think. When you get there, because then you have, especially when you have children, because then you have to go and get them settled in school and everything. But the great thing about it is that the kids fitted in right away. The very first day, they were out there playing with all the other kids, as if they'd never moved from anywhere,
Where did you come to? Would you remember your address?
Avenue P, 421 Avenue P, Brooklyn. Yeah, and we had a big yard for them playing, which was good, because they were used to the open spaces then, It would have been hard if they had to go in an apartment and have no place outside, to play.
Did you like it when you first came here? Did you feel you wanted to go back?
Well, I was very more unsettled than anybody when I got, for the first 6 months. I was just saying, well, really, maybe I shouldn't have done it, this type of thing. But then I saw where the kids were quite happy with it, and it didn't bother them, nothing, and they didn't mind the changing schools or anything. And everybody was telling me that would be hard for them to come from a school in England into a school here, But they settled in right away, because I think with kids are better at settling in than the grown-ups,
Did you find big differences
Oh, yes.
raising children here?
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, big difference, yeah.
Why? How is it?
Well,
Kids have more freedom here or something?
I guess they had, really. You know, when we were in England, I never allowed the kids to play on the street, play, you know, in front of our house, unless I was there. You know, because there was like a fear then. That was like after, you know, it was after the war. There was a lot of people that were kind of a little warped, you know, after the bombings and everything. So nobody ever did leave their children unattended in the street there for that reason. And when they went to school, I walked them to school. When they came out of school, I was waiting outside school to take them home, you know. So I think that had something to do with that. But then I found here the kids could go out and play, and you know, there was no thing about them being afraid of anything. Yeah.
I just want to take you back for a minute to Ireland and when you were growing up. Did you have electricity in the house? And
No, not
plumbing?
no, not in them days. We had the oil lamps. Matter of fact, the electricity did come into the town when I was about 7 years old. That was the first electricity the town had it. Then they didn't get I was in my 20s, I'd say, before they got to and the electric in the houses.
What about the indoor plumbing? Did you have inside plumbing?
No, we didn't have any indoor plumbing for years. Yeah.
And telephone?
No, still don't have a telephone. Although people have telephones around us, you know. That took quite a long time to come. The telephones did. Telephones are only in within the last, I guess, 4 years or 5 years.
And still several people don't
Yeah,
have
they
them.
don't have them.
And your house, what was your house like? I know you said you had the open farm.
Yeah, we had the open fire when I was growing up, and this the kettle. You know, I hung it over the fire to boil for the tea, and my mother baked bread. She baked it in an iron pot type of thing, and it seems she never burned anything. That's what I could understand. She was able to judge how much of the fire should go in it and how much of the fire should go over it. She baked the bread and did a great job.
You
Yeah.
could always handle the hot pots with
Yes,
oven mitts.
that's right. Yeah, isn't it something? The thing there, I think the most important thing in that time was that anything that you did eat there had no chemical in it when we were growing up. There were no chemicals. You know, the vegetable or anything like that, and the meat or anything, they never had any kind of chemical in them. So I think probably that was good. You know, because I go back now, and I can't get that same taste at all from the butter or the meat or anything that I had when I was growing up there. But now I know that they have, you know, there's chemicals to everything in Ireland now too. See, my brother always tells me, even last year when I was in Ireland, he said, you know, it is the rabbits won't even eat the grass in the fields because of the chemical. They'll eat the grass at the side of the road where there is no chemical.
Now we spoke about your parents. What about your grandparents on your father's side? Do you
My
remember
father's
their names?
side, the grandfather was Luke Hickey, and the grandmother was Mary Doody. Yeah, and then in my mother's side, her mother's name was Kate Ryan. The father was Daniel O'Keefe.
Do
Yeah.
you know anybody?
Other relatives?
Anybody beyond that? Any of your great grandparents? Can you remember
No.
anybody's names further than that?
No, the only thing is that we were looking on the headstone, the great grandfather's headstone. His name was Dennis Hickey, and I think his wife, the name was Elizabeth. And we had Elizabeth in our family. We were wondering where it came from. That's probably where it came from, you know. Yeah.
And you have Looney. Who's Looney?
That's Peg's. My sister's.
Oh, that's who,
Yeah.
who she married.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, how about for your brothers and sisters then? who married and the names of the people that they married? Would you know?
Yeah, well, here, Mary married Jim Ryan. They had no family. Kathy, oh yes, no, Nora's next. Nora married Frank Doherty, and she has 3 children, had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. Kathy died when she was 33 years old. She was next when she died out here. And oh, Dennis, my old, yeah, he was the oldest, yeah. Dennis was the oldest. Dennis was married and had 3 daughters.
What was his wife's name?
His wife's name was Marcella Henley.
Okay.
And her parents were from Ireland. And her parents, I think, died. Her mother died when she was born.
How about Hannah?
Oh, Hannah, yeah. She was married to Peter Looney. And Peg and Hen were married to 2 brothers. Yeah, the Looneys, yeah. Dennis Looney was Peg's husband, and Peter Looney was Hen's.
Did she have any children?
She did. They both had 3 girls and a boy.
Okay.
Then
Who else? Nell.
And Nell was married to Michael Wickham.
What's her name? Her real name?
Ellen, my mother's name, yeah.
And, then Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa then was married to Mike Doherty. They got 6 children. 3 boys and 3 girls. Oh, Luke is married to Rita. Can't think of Rita's second name. But they have no family.
Jack.
Jack never married.
Is that his true name?
John, actually.
His name is John?
His name is John, yeah. See, Luke was the only one that had second name. Luke was Luke Joseph. And he was born in St. Joseph's there. So I think that's where the names came in mostly.
Okay, now we're going to go back to America, and after you lived on Avenue P, then where did you head on to after that?
We moved to West Avenue P. We moved to Northland Avenue, but we only stayed there 8 months. And then we moved to 60th Street, Brooklyn. And I think we were in that house 9 years. And then we came up here in 74.
Okay, now you had 4 children in England,
Yeah,
and you had 4 children
in the United States.
Did you find big differences between
Big differences, yeah.
having children
I have.
in England and...
Well, the strange thing about that was now, about England was, they had a national health system at that time, which was excellent. And when I came out here, I was comparing, I said, I got more attention there than I did from a private doctor here at that time. That they had, the hospital were spick and span and so particular, and I remember when Eileen was born, they said they thought she was having a problem with her nose, and they called in a nose specialist right away to look at her, and came in and reassured me not to worry, everything was going to be fine. And as soon as he came and looked at her and said there was nothing wrong, they came and told me right away. They were very kind and very considerate, and very particular about everything. At that time, of course, it's changed now too.
Then the names of all your children, you told us 4 from England.
Yeah.
And then the next 4 were?
Christopher, John, and Maria and Maureen.
Now, you also had a sister that was a nun.
Yeah, Sister Declan. Yeah.
And she was named in the order originally.
Yes.
And her real name was?
Sheila, yeah. So she was 2 years older than I am. But,
She,
she left Ireland for England when she was 17 and entered the Sisters of the Holy Family in Rockford, England. And then she was there for 3 years for the novitiate, for 3 years. And then she was sent to Eastbourne, which was a beautiful place in England. And they had a private nursing home there. You know, now not elderly nursing home now, but for people that were sick, and they did operations and everything there. That's a beautiful place. So she spent most of her life there. And then I think about maybe 7 or 8 years ago, she had left Eastbourne for 1 year and came to Kilburn in England. And she stayed in their convent there for a year. Then she went back to Eastbourne. And then last year, they sold that. The doctors bought it. And then she was sent to Ireland. So now she's in Dublin, Ireland.
Okay, now you came up to Newburgh, and
Yeah.
You're here in Newburgh how long?
Oh, I'll be 14 years in August. Mm.
And we're going to go through your children. The oldest is Margie.
Yeah.
Is that her?
Margaret. Margaret Mary.
Mhm. And she's married to?
Kevin Allen. And they have 5 boys. And
And their names?
Kevin, Sean, Colin, Timmy, and Patrick.
Okay, and then the next would be, okay, after Margie?
Eileen.
And then after Eileen?
After Eileen came Patrick. So Patrick is married to Nora O'Hara. And they have 2 boys, Patrick Michael and Brian Ulysses.
And then next would be?
Dennis. And Dennis, of course, is married to Bernadette O'Hara. And they're awaiting the baby. Dennis. Christopher. Christopher is unmarried. So I hope he'll meet somebody soon. I'm getting tired of ironing. He'll kill me for that.
Okay, and then we have?
John. John is married to Grace. Grace Riser. And they'll soon be moving this way. And John. Henry. Henry is footloose and happy yet. And then Maureen, our baby. And she's going to be getting married in September this year.
Who will she be
To
married?
Gary Millett.
And you just had your 40th anniversary.
Yes.
Did you celebrate it?
Yes.
Have any little recollections or any words of wisdom?
Oh, there's wisdom. Oh, well, hang in there.
Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Well, you know, life wasn't so bad after all. We had our ups and our downs, but
Today it's April 5th, 1988, and we're speaking with Patrick Fitzgerald, Sr.
Okay, you want to tell me your full name?
Patrick Fitzgerald.
You have a second name?
Confirmation name. Alphonsus.
And when were you born?
The 3rd of October 1922.
Where were you born?
Ballyporeen, County Tipperary.
What were the names of your mother and father?
Patrick and Margaret.
Did he have a second name?
Not that I know of.
And he was named Patrick Fitzgerald.
Right.
How about your mother's maiden name?
O'Brien.
And
Yeah.
And were they both from Valley Green?
Yes.
How about your grandparents?
Them I can't tell you very little about.
Do you remember their names at all?
No.
Right. Did you, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
5 brothers and 4 sisters. No, 4 brothers and 5 sisters.
Can you tell me their names in the order of their birth? The oldest down to the...
The oldest is Nellie, Catty, Thomas, Madge, Babe, myself, John, Mary, and Christopher.
Did your parents have their own home?
No, we... Up till 1923, my grandparents owned a home and owned a store in the same home. They slept upstairs and they had the store downstairs. And in 1923, it broke up between my uncles and my father, and nobody lived in that house until 1940.
Was that the house that you were born in?
No. I was born, some of my family was born in the house.
Where the store was?
Yeah, where the store was. And my father and mother and whatever part of the family was there left it and went down the lane in Ballyporeen, which we call the lane. And I was born in the lane. From there we moved to my grandfather's house, which was a cottage on the Claheen Road, which is about a quarter of a mile from Ballyporeen.
Is Ballyporeen the town?
Village.
The village? Okay. So you lived about half a mile outside the village?
Yeah, but not even a half mile, about a quarter of a mile. And we stayed there, and I stayed there for a couple of years. And my uncle on my mother's side, my grandfather must have died or was dead in the meantime, and my uncle must have owned it. My uncle on the mother's side must have owned the cottage, and him and my father had some kind of an argument, and we left the cottage again, and then we lived up the street, the top of the village, right near where we had our store originally, but the old home was still locked.
Well, what became of the old home?
The old home stayed there, but a couple of people lived in it, a couple of families lived in it while they were building their own houses. And it was never touched until 1940 or 41. And then me and my father and an old contractor by the name of Mike Pine, we renovated the house. I put the ceilings in, did a lot of the work because the old man was old. He was about 75. He more or less showed us what to do. So from there we moved across the street in about 1941, and the last 4 of the family stayed there, which was me and John, Mary and Chris. Went back into that house. So the house was there up till my father died and my mother died, which was in 1960, what was it, Ma? 67? The house was left there and thrown there, and now it has fallen down. That's the end of that house. Gone beyond repair.
Okay. How old were you when you were doing the renovations on the house?
15.
Where did you go to school?
Went to school in the convent until I was about 8, 9. I got out of the convent school and went to the National Boys' School, which is down the end of the village. And I got out of school when I was 14.
Were your parents farmers or what did you grow up with?
No, from once the store closed down, my father was married, and he went what is known as in the old country years ago as a carman, which was delivering Guinness from the brewery to the village of Ballyporeen. And he used to be in charge of 4 horses, and then after so many years he left that and he went and worked for the county council in the road. And he retired out of there at the age of 70.
Did you live on a farm or
No,
all in the city?
no, we lived in a village. Lived from hand to mouth. Whoever wants to know it can have it from me.
So there wasn't that much money around in those days?
Very little. A bag of flour every month was 30 shillings wages from the county council. And you had what was known as lard, but just potatoes. And the meat and the fish was very, very, very scarce.
And did you have all the children living in the house at the same time, basically?
No, all four of us, just that's all. All the rest were gone between England and all over the place. America.
Can you describe the house? Was there electricity? Did you have any running water, running indoor plumbing?
We never had any running water until the end of 1948. 40, after the war, Second World War. There was never a bathroom in the house until then. So you had what is known as a bucket, and you went to the pump up the street for water.
And electricity?
No electricity, and I was gone from home completely when the electricity came in.
Do you remember anything about your grandparents?
No, I
Did you ever
don't.
meet them?
Not to my memory.
Did you do any did you follow the garden at all?
Oh yes, we used to have, we owned another piece of property up the street which is which is what they call a freehold. It must have had something to do with the store, or somebody owed them money, and instead of paying them back the money, they must have given them the piece of land and the house that was there. But today there is no house. The land is still there, but nothing is done with it. But that time when I was young, 12, 13 years of age, we used to have potatoes and a lot of vegetables. And then we used to have about 5 or 6 drills of potatoes, and they were cousins of ours, Fitzgeralds also, out in Glenaconna, which is about a mile and a half from the village. They own a farm there.
When you were going to school, did you also work, or did you help around the house?
You helped around the house, and from the time I was 12 and still going to school, I was milking 6 cows in the morning and 6 cows at night.
Were these owned by your family?
No, I was just on hire.
How did you get around in those days? Did you have a car?
No, you mostly walked.
A bicycle?
No, I had no bicycle then, no.
Did you have any aunts and uncles in the area that you remember? You mentioned your cousins.
Yeah, we had a lot of cousins. Well, my father's family more or less came from this townsland called Glenaconna.
What county is that?
That's still in Tipperary. Yeah, but that old house is still there with one of the great-grandsons is still living there. There's about 25 acres of land there, so way back to my grandfather and great-grandfather, that's where they all came out of.
About your mother's family, was she also from the same area?
She was from the same area, and she had one sister, and And is it one or two sisters, man? My mother's side of the family. Two sisters and a brother.
Actually, she had four sisters. She had three sisters. There were 7 twins.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I want to ask you, but stay away from the mic.
She had one sister out in Massachusetts and a sister in
She was a nun. She was in, oh no, yeah, my father's side.
Massachusetts and Mary.
Oh yeah, Ann Nell. And then there's the one in Cork, and that's Ann Mary. And I had an Uncle James at home in the village, who stayed with my mother in the old house until she died.
So there was how many people in that family?
As far as I know, there was three sisters and a brother. It's two sisters, herself, and a brother.
And how about on your father's side? Do you know?
On my father's side, as far as I know, that we can document was 4 brothers and himself, as far as I can remember.
No aunts?
And one aunt, and she was a nun. And she's buried in Connecticut.
She was none in this country?
Yeah. We found out that she's buried in Connecticut. What part of Connecticut, I don't know. Or what she was in, what order she was in, I don't know.
Now, you were born in October. What was the year? What year were you born in?
1922, the year of the trouble.
Do you remember any of your parents or your aunts and uncles talking about what was going on in Ireland at the time?
No, only that I had one uncle who was in the British Army, Uncle Ned.
British Army?
He was in the British Army. He was in the Boer War. He came back from the Boer War, and then he went to stayed with him, and he was in World War One. And then he what's the name for it? What's the name for getting out of something?
Discharged.
No, he stole out of that.
AWOL?
Well, you can say he went AWOL, yeah. And he came home and trained the boys of the British tactics, 1921. And he knew De Valera, Dan Breen, all that crowd. And then there was a price in his head for being in the British Army. So eventually the boys got him out, and he arrived in Canada. And from Canada he's supposed to have joined the Canadian Mounties. And I don't know too much about him, because he never kept in touch with anybody in Ballyporeen. There's very little, as far as I know, because I never heard of it, that he did.
Do you know any of the stories? Being that Tipperary was supposed to be so popular for a lot of the rebels. Do you remember any stories of anybody?
Well, my father was kind of interrelated with with Dan Breen and a few more of them around there, because when he got into the county council, that's who got him in there. When they got to be TDs and all that kind of thing, when they got to be politicians when the war was over. That's how he got his job, and that was his payoff.
Now, when you went to school, how did you go to school?
I walked to school, right? Only,
Was it far for you?
no, about 15 minutes. While I went to school, when I went to the boys' school at the age of 10, I became an altar boy. That time you have to have Latin. And I was taught the Latin with the nuns. And at the age of 11, I had to spend an hour every day in a boys' school teaching 6 or 8 boys around the street that were altar boys also. So I was in charge of them until I was 14, 15 years of age. So I was more inside the altar rails than I was in school, between going to masses out the country and going to masses in the funerals and weddings and everything else.
That was a form of work.
Well, it was a form of work. As cents. Because you got a tip, 3/4 of the tip, you'd have to connive it with your mother to get a sixpence out of it, or maybe get 3 or 4 pennies for candy out of it.
So you kind of had to help support the family.
Well, yes and no. Support the family. Whatever money you got, it went towards the house. So from there, then I got out of school and I worked for 3 farmers in the village, outside of the village. I worked for Russell's, just outside the village. I worked for Ned Handon's, and I gave a year with Russell's, and I gave about 9 months with Ned Handon, and I gave about 9 or 10 months with Morris Gorman. That brought me up to nearly 17 years of age. And one day I got it in my head that I was leaving home for good.
Just to go back to the farmers for a minute, do you have any interesting stories about when you worked?
No, nothing interesting, only very hard work. You work from 5 in the morning till 7 at night with a pair of horses all day the last year, plowing. The war was on then,
What war was that then?
Second World War.
Did you stay in these? Did
Yeah,
you
I
go back
stayed.
home or you stayed?
No, I stayed in the houses. That was my first chance of getting out from under my father and mother.
And you were about 15 years old then?
15, I left school, and that was the first farm, and I was 14. Yes, you could say that. I was going to the creamery, milking cows and feeding them and all that kind of stuff.
Did anything else happen with these farmers? That you stayed with when you stayed with them?
Oh, just one guy, the last farmer I was with, he kind of made my mind up that I wasn't going to hang around and be a farmer's boy. Because that time during the war, you couldn't you couldn't get any kind of tools. So he had a billhook, and it was around September, and I accidentally broke the billhook, and the guy put his fists up to me, and if he did, he was sorry. And that was the end. I told him to pay my mother whatever it was, because you made a deal for a year, so many pounds for the year, and your mother got the money. You didn't get anything. So the rest of that year that I was at home, I worked for a big threshing outfit, and I was what they call a millman. It's the guy that throws the shaves and all into the mill. And it was the first time that I ever could say I had money of my own. I was getting £5 a week, and the run of my jaws, shot of booze in the morning, and a large bottle of Guinness.